Hey guys, B8KD here. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to build the absolute best PvP rogue right now. The nerfs just happened and rogues are still absolutely king. I'm going to show you a way to keep your life up, how to consistently recover HP without siphoning strikes. I do have siphoning strikes still built into this build for the small chance I do get a little bit of heals. But this is after the patch went live with all the nerfs, and Rogue, like I said, is still absolutely king of PvP. I'm going to show you how my build works, all my gear, and my Paragon board that is 100% unique to myself. I'm sure it's not perfect, but it works flawlessly. So let's go ahead and just get right into the build. We're going to start off with our helmet. For helmet, you want armor, attack speed, poison imbuement, and CDR. For the legendary affix, you want the smoke grenades, causes the next 7 attacks to dodge within 7 seconds. The dodge is very good with this build. It synergizes very nice. For the chest armor, you want as much DR as you can, and it has to have armor % on there. The legendary affix, I put 20% damage reduction on basic hit. For the gloves, crit chance, twisting blades, attack speed is a must, and all stats. The best thing you can get in place for all stats is the attack speed for 4 seconds after dodging an attack. That is absolutely meta for this build, so if you have a set of gloves like this, I would definitely go with that. Now you see my twisting blades aspect is on my gloves, and on my crossbow I have my imbuement skill effects have a 80% increased potency. Now I would recommend either swapping these or keeping them the same depending on what you want to do. I'm looking for the absolute largest poison ticks possible, so this is how I have it built, and I've found a ton of success in this type of build. But if you do switch that, you get a little bit less poison ticks, more TB damage. For your pants, you definitely want to have, while injured, your potions grant you a 30% maximum barrier as life. This will save your life, but you need armor on your legs and all types of damage resistance or damage reduction and dodge chance if possible. This is absolutely perfect for me. Now, one way to keep your life up that is going to synergize very well with your necklace, which I'll get into that in a minute. You heal for 77 life per second for each close enemy, up to 255 per second. It doesn't seem like much, but paired with our momentum key passive heals you for 459. It heals you for a ton, and sometimes they're kind of a little bit off cycle, I think. I'm not sure if this game has game ticks, but there you go. I skipped Pennant Greaves. I know it's nice, but a lot of times people are unstoppable and you can't apply that CC damage, so I skipped it. For the boots, you want the max evade charges or the speed boost when you use your evade. Damage reduction while injured is pretty key. You want that on at least 1 to 2 pieces that you have so you don't get slapped, and then you can also pop your potion. Dodge chance synergizes well. Energy cost reduction and as much move speed as you can. 15.8 move speed really just doesn't cut it in most cases. You need that move speed. Now for the boots, I have Shadow Step on there for the increased mobility. I get a second charge of Shadow Step, so 2 break out of jail cards and a potential stun if they're not unstoppable. What I was running before is either this one, while injured, while crowd controlled you become unstoppable. Now this doesn't always proc because you're not always CC'd, but sometimes it does break you out of jail if you have no other cooldowns. This is a very good one I used while unstoppable and 4 seconds after you get a huge movement speed boost. So out of these two is definitely a viable option, but I went with the Shadow Step. It seems like I like having an additional charge of Shadow Step a little bit more than the mobility. Now for the bow, we want to make sure this bow does not have critical strike chance on it, or if it does, you don't want critical strike damage on your rings. I've heard there is a 200% critical strike soft cap, so I would always shoot for 200%. You can go higher, but I think it's very diminished. So close, core damage, vulnerable damage, dex, or all stats if you can't get your Paragon nodes fully activated. I would rather go with the all stats in my opinion. And then for close, you can swap that to critical strike damage with imbued skills or whatever else suits your build very well. I already went over the legendary aspect for huge imbuement pops. Now the necklace is absolutely key about this build. So each stack of momentum key passive heals you for 459. Paired with your momentum down here, which you're pretty much running 100% of the time, you get damage reduction, energy cost regeneration, and increased move speed. So the two shadow steps there will keep your momentum at 3 stacks, and you also will be dazing people, which will get momentum stacks, but that is the way that you're going to heal yourself now. Momentum plus these legs. The other thing you could slot on the legs is the magical bubble here. If I'm fighting like a rogue or something. Sorry, went off track, but I forgot to mention this. It pops a bubble every 90 seconds, and it removes all of your poison dots on you. So this will save your life. Rogues are really the only thing that can kill me at this point. But you want movement speed is key. Imbuement skills plus 3 ranks is key, and then armor is key on this. The last one, you can do whatever you want. DR from close. Cooldown reduction, which isn't too prevalent. You don't need CDR in this build. It is nice, but energy cost reduction would probably be the best option for the 4th stat there. For your rings, pretty standard. You can't get any like DR on your rings, so the best thing you want to do is get maximum life on it. That is the best defensive stat you can boost up your life with. We have only 10k life, so it is a little bit rough, so anything with extra life is good. But you want crit chance. Vulnerable damage is key because they absolutely nerfed it. You need as much as you can. And then I got crit strike damage, and poison damage is good, and physical damage because it boosts your twisting blades. So for the ring legendary affix, I went with the dodge chance. By enemies affected by damage over time. You gain 10 resource. So with this imprint and this, you get 70 energy constantly. Now for the other ring, I found the best possible option is damaging elite enemies with a basic skill generates 7 energy. Elites are bloodmark players. So that paired with your absolutely tanky dodge equipment, you are just full energy most of the time. So that is pretty key. These two are the best in slot in my opinion. I know some people run the crowd control, but we don't have pennant boots, so it's only when you daze somebody, which isn't all the time, so I would skip that. Now, same thing with your weapons. Crit strike damage if you don't have your 200%. Vulnerable damage. All stats, dex. Cutthroat skill damage. Whatever you can get, that's going to suffice on your build. Now, if you're having trouble getting your armor up, the other thing you can swap is... well, there's not much to swap, but you can change your legs to disobedience as well to get the armor stacks while doing longer drawn out fights. Now, one thing I wanted to go over is the gems. Gems on all of your gear, you want the orange gems in here, so if you get CC'd, you don't get one shot. Controlled and paired DR is huge. I don't really see the need for more HP. You're doing just fine where you're at. Hodas can't one-shot you anymore, so that is the best in slot. I went with damage over time in all of these. Now, I'm not sure about the damage bucket, but if we see, we have 80% from our glyph, and right below it, well, it says damage with poisoning. When we take that off, it goes into this bucket right here. So damage with poison, damage with poisoning. Makes no sense to me, but I'm hoping they either add or multiply off each other to do absolutely huge ones. So you want the amethysts or purple gems. And then, of course, skulls and all of your jewelry there. I think that is the best for getting your armor up. But yeah, that is the gear I have set up. The specialization I am always running is preparation, because you have shadow step, poison imbuement, concealment, and then your shadow clone. Whenever you pop your shadow clone, it resets all of your abilities. So you have 4 shadow steps, 2 concealments, 2 poison imbuments. It is absolutely best in slot for mobility in PvP, and that's what I would recommend. Oops. Now, I know some people run combo points. If you're trying to jump people very quickly, you can snapshot your core skill damage here. So you throw 3 basic abilities at a mob, and then go into combo points. That builds up 3 combo points, and then your first hit out of stealth is always crit, and it does a absolutely crap load of damage. I just like the mobility a lot more, so you can choose between those two if you want. Going into the abilities, it is a pretty cookie cutter build. Fundamental puncture, the dazed on the twisting blades. You have sturdy and siphoning strikes, which barely does anything, so you can remove these 3 points if you want and move them somewhere else, or even just leave 1 point in there for 105 HP heal. It's really nothing, so I might even just remove that out completely. You'll see how I have everything built. I have plenty enough healing to go around. Stutter step is pretty key. When you crit, you get movement speed, and movement speed is king in PvP. We got the stun on shadow step. You know, potentially we can get some damage over time reduction to help with the rogues, and even damage reduction while control impaired. Down here, since we have swords, it's a 9x damage. You can slot daggers in there. The healthy damage is pretty good. But you need Weapon Master, 1 point in each of these. For the concealment, you gain energy when you conceal. That helps when you're low and you pop your shadow clone, conceal for the crit, and then you get energy. And then the guaranteed crit out of concealment, that is pretty key. Agile, we want more dodge. You're popping cooldowns all the time, so you pretty much get a permanent 12% dodge. Coming down here, we want exploit and malice maxed. If you have a necklace that has imbuement and exploit on it, that is pretty huge damage. Getting that 18x to healthy and injured is huge. If you want to move your points around, take it out of malice, in my opinion. Coming down here, we want 1 point in the deadly venom. I'm going to move 2 points there from the siphoning strikes just to prime up my poison. 3 out of 3, less DR from poison enemies. Blended imbuement. No frigid finesse because we don't have the pedant boots anymore. Now, Shadow Clone, you are unstoppable for 5 seconds, and then 20 additional damage. I used to not do the damage, but it does help taking down those more tanky foes. No lucky hit chance, no trap mastery. I have 1 point in the increased adrenaline rush to get 3 out of 3 haste. The movement speed and the attack speed are huge there. And of course, momentum for your ultimate ability. I do have 1 more point to go around, and I don't know where I'm going to put it yet. Let's just go ahead and let's just do a little bit extra days there. Good enough. Alright, so our last and final thing to go over here is going to be our Paragon board. Now, this is 100% unique to how I built my character. Like I was saying, I do not watch videos or guides or anything, and I pretty much wing this. It is not going to be on max roll, unfortunately, so you're going to have to follow along and or pause the video if you want to copy what I'm doing. I'll go pretty slow on this, and if you don't want to see my Paragon board, you can skip to the end. But starting up here, we want to take the damage node. We follow it up, and I stuck combat in here. Skills restore energy on crit, so that's pretty big. I just have the basic requirement of 29 int out of 25, just unlock that. You can prime this by removing my last board here if you want on either end and honing down all of your glyphs, but how I have it built, this works the best. I went with the armor and dex and damage, and then I followed it up here. Our next board is going to be the No Witness. And for our glyph slot, I did Bane for the increased poison damage. You can get this glyph all the way up to about 100% with a level 21 glyph and more points in strength if you want to move things around. But it gives an additional 10% chance to double the amount of damage over time, which is pretty good. Now I have maximum life over here, and a little additional poison damage on the strength. Additional damage. We're going to come to the right now, and I got the control impaired duration reduction, which is good for PvP, and damage over time reduction. Coming to the right, this board is going to be the Cunning Stratagem, or whatever you want to call that. We hit the first armor node, and we stuck a closer in there for the damage reduction. Coming up here, we want to get Finisher for the additional core skill damage. Following this board up, basically is only here for the glyph slot, and this is Exploit. Now you may or may not even need this, but I have it on there just so my first hit makes them vulnerable and gives me 23% vulnerable damage, which is very hard to get right now. Coming to the right, I had to unlock both of these nodes just to get my bottom bonus slot unlocked there for the 25 strength. Coming back to our regular No Witness board, we are going to come off to the left here. This board is going to be the Tricks of the Trade. This is a huge multiplier for both your basic and your cutthroat skills. You can move these points elsewhere if you want to, but it's a huge damage boost. So I would unlock that. Scrolling down here, I get the damage to close and damage reduction. You want to get as much DR as you can. That's only DR to close and damage too close, so I skipped that. But that is a lot of damage reduction right there. Coming over here for our glyph, I went with Efficacy. That increases my potency to my imbuement skills, and it unlocks more damage to elites or other players, and it doubles up on my armor. So I get a crap load of armor just from this glyph. I'm considering swapping efficacy for diminish, just for that extra DR. I'm not really having any trouble not dying in PvP other than to rogues. And I'm not sure if this is going to be worth it, but it gives the same bonuses to the slots that you need. But I'm going to leave my 21 efficacy on there to double down on my poison for now. Now scrolling down to this board down here, this is going to be the exploit weakness. This definitely puts a lot of DPS into targets that have drawn out fights, that are, you know, going cheek for cheek with you. But following this down, I got the glyph slot, stuck turf in there for the DR and additional damage to close. You get additional vulnerable damage, which that 20% is very hard to get, so I would definitely go for that. Coming down here, I got more vulnerable damage and damage reduction from vulnerable enemies, which is huge. We got a few armor nodes, but the vulnerable DR is massive. You need to get that. Now, coming to our last board, you can remove this board if you want, but the damage reduction you get from it is absolutely huge. This board can be swapped to the imbuement board, which I'll show you in just a minute, but this is the cheap shot board, and you follow this up and you get the damage reduction from elites. Armor, DR from elites, DR from elites, DR from elites. This is massive because elites are other players, and that's what I would recommend doing. The imbuement board gives you a ton more poison damage, but it's not as beneficial as the DR in my opinion. But yeah, that is my Paragon board setup. Now, how we initiate, we hop off our horse. We pop our poison imbuement and our concealment. We sneak in and we try to hit the first hit as a twisting blades. You can see his entire health bar is poisoned. Now he immunes out and he takes off. Now I poison imbuement. I pop my shadow clone for the unstoppable, and then I go in for the kill. Pretty simple. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully if you follow along in my path, you can change a few things to your likings, but if you get the right affixes, you're going to slap some absolute cheeks in Season 1. This build is, like I was saying before, the absolute king of PvP. So I'll show you some clips just from me PvPing today. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to throw the video a like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Alright, peace.